This episode of Stuck in Vermont is brought to you by Burlington College.
'Cause we're stuck in Vermont.
Oh, don't you get claustrophobic? Answer to that is no, the door is 2 steps.
Welcome to Stuck in Vermont, brought to you by 7 Days. My name's Eva Solberger. We are here in Johnson, Vermont, on a hilltop, in the middle of nowhere, and it's snowing. We're going to talk to you about tiny houses. The house behind me is 100 square feet, 10 by 10. And here on this hilltop, there are 3 tiny houses that we're going to go have a look at.
I was saying you could film it with all 3 of us in here.
Peter King is a tiny house enthusiast. He built this house behind me. He believes that scaling down is the way to go in the future.
Tiny houses are for people who can entertain themselves.
Let's go find out why you might want to live in a tiny house.
Tiny house people, they're a different breed. They're generally not from the stuff nation. The tiny house forces you to get rid of your junk. But even when the house is small, you can still have a bed, a chair, and a desk. For simple living, you don't need much more than that. Another motivation for tiny houses is I'm so anti-mortgage. Don't borrow your life away. I'd rather be very poor and have lots of free time in a beautiful place than have all kinds of money and no free time. A lot of towns have a minimum square footage, and if it's under that amount, you don't need a building permit and you don't get taxed. Many towns it's 100 square feet. So this is an 8 by 12. This is a 12 by 16 stick frame house. This house is set up for 4-season use, although it's a no water in, no water out situation. But it does have electricity from the panel. Gardens and tiny houses are just such a natural fit. It's what I call a 10 by 10 by 10 house. It's a perfect cube. So you can do what I call walk the plank. You can walk. Entertain me. Faster, damn it. And put it on my card. We all have this sense of I want mine. I want my bathroom, my car, my phone, my TV, my fridge. And so now you have a billion people pooping and drinking water, sitting in front of the TV all night, eating packaged foods. Now, part of my motivation with all this is I can't believe how much people pay for housing. I can't believe how much rent is. I hate mortgages. In a debt society, you have your beautiful house, but then you're gone most of the time paying for the thing. Think of how many people would buy a 400 square foot house because they didn't have to pay the thing for 30 years. So there's a tremendous opportunity, especially in economic hard times. You can justify a tiny house in many ways. I mean, it could be a poetry shack, it could be your office, it could be a place for the kids to play. Tiny houses work best in the backyard of a normal home. So it's like a bedroom broke off the house and snuck off into the backyard. You can have community, you can have family, you can share utilities, but you're not in each other's hair. Sure, it's cute, like puppies and kittens. No, I equate the little space with beautiful setting, trails, gardens, etc. All the cheap stuff. It's just like a boat. Same thing as a boat. Worst case scenario, your tiny house burns down. Big deal. Build another one. There are some rules with tiny houses that I try to follow. And the first rule is to have lots of glass in the south to get as much light as possible. And it's really a giant solar collector. I also always have a loft. So they really do well in a setting that is beautiful. In a grove of trees, or the edge of a pond, or on a little perch or whatever. It's tucked out of the way, kind of hidden, totally in the forest, dead on with Mount Elmore. I could wake up here every morning. There's so many people who wish they could build their own place. And so when I realized how simple this is and how much of a mystery it is to so many people, I'm like, come on, it's a double plate, it's a bottom plate, a top plate, and a double plate. There's a language to building, and once you know the language, you've got it. And it's the same thing whether it's a gigantic house or whether it's a dog house. You start with a little tiny house. You build that sucker, and that gives you the building skills. On a tiny house, you can screw it up, and it's like it doesn't matter because there's only 3 sheets of plywood. How could you guys have screwed this up? It's only 10 feet long. It would normally take 6 weeks, several months to see a house built. With this system, you can see the whole thing in a weekend. I would be so happy if I could build a tiny house a month with absolute beginners who want to learn construction.
I just wanna go home.
If you're not in that debt culture, if you're not in that stuff culture, then that's what life's about. Imagine living in the tropics with a little tiny house. Yeehaw! My slogan is $200 to $300 a month, 2 to 3 days a week. That's it. Anything past that, you're showing off.
If you are someone who would like to learn more about carpentry or about building tiny houses, Peter wants to teach you more. So you should give him a call and find out how to build your own tiny house. We'll get Stuck in Vermont with you again real soon. I'm going to do it all again, Mom. Hang on.
All right. How's my hair?
Looking good.
A tiny house is a great idea, but you go even farther. You could live in your bed box all summer. It's a screen porch for sleeping out at night. You get the stars. The best time in the bed box is when it's raining.
What kind of a feeling do you have when you go from this to that?
Oh, it makes you want to drink beer.
I'm a writing and literature major, and I go to Burlington College. It's a really small school, has great personal relationships with the teachers, and you can really be an individual here.
I love it. It's the tree of learning.
Yeah.